I love my boyfriend Tom. He was a nice guy, very affectionate. He brought positive energy into any room he entered. He never took anything too seriously and always lived in the moment. I really liked that about him. But the longer we were together, the more his carefree lifestyle annoyed me. We never went on trips because he was incapable of planning ahead. I had to remind him about birthdays and special occasions because he wouldn't remember and he never checked the calendar. At times I felt like I was his parent instead of his girlfriend. Things came to a head last summer when he convinced me to sign us up for a couples challenge at my office party. I work for a growing tech company, and they do a ton of team building events throughout the year. I personally hate them, but because Tom is always the life of the party, he always makes them fun. My coworkers like him a lot more than me. Every summer, our office spends a day in the mountains for a series of challenges, like tug of war and three-legged races and stuff. In the past, I always sat on the sidelines and watched, but this year, Tom convinced me to sign us up. I had to get special permission from my boss because Tom wasn't an employee. It was kind of a hassle, but Tom insisted that we'd have fun. And on the day we were supposed to go, he completely forgot. He went to visit his brother on a whim. I called him over and over, but he didn't pick up his phone. He forgot to charge it. My boss wouldn't let me back out, so I had to go to the event and do all the two-person games by myself. I came in last place every time. The worst was the three-legged race. Since I was just one person, I had to run across the field on two legs and one hand. I fell right on my face. Anyway, it was awful. And when I got home and asked Tom where he'd been, he didn't even apologize. He acted like it wasn't a big deal at all. It's just some stupid games. I exploded. I screamed at him, unloading all my pent-up frustrations. I don't think I knew how much I was holding back my anger until that moment, when years of grievances came out of me all at once. I don't remember everything I said, but I remember telling him that if he didn't grow up, I'd leave him. He looked like I'd slapped him in the face. He got really teary-eyed and promised me over and over that he'd make things right. He swore he'd be a better boyfriend, and like a total idiot, I believed him. For the next few days, he was really attentive and affectionate. He cooked me breakfast and did all the chores around the house. I didn't know how long this new version of him would last, but I liked it so far. Then I came home late from a pretty grueling work trip. It was already nighttime and Tom was asleep on the couch. I didn't know why. I went straight upstairs to our bedroom, but when I opened the door, I had a full-on panic attack. Before I tell you what I saw, it's important to give a little backstory. I have a crippling phobia of dolls. I run past toy stores just so I don't have to see what's inside. I know it's irrational and embarrassing, but I can't help it. When I was 6 years old, my grandmother surprised me with an antique doll that she used to play with when she was a girl. At the time, I thought it was the most wonderful thing I'd ever seen. It was a blonde baby doll with big blue eyes, like a lot of dolls from the 50s. It had this special feature where you fed it candies and it would pop them out of her diaper. I'd never seen anything like it. Its little mouth moved and everything. What I didn't know at the time was that these dolls were discontinued because they were a safety hazard. Anyway, Grandma sat with me while I fed my new doll little pebbles. I had so much fun watching its mouth open and close like that. And Grandma was having fun too, because she was passing down one of her cherished childhood memories to me. So I gave her the doll and asked her to feed it some pebbles. She did. But my grandma had very long hair, and as the doll was swallowing those pebbles, her hair got caught in its mouth. She screamed, but the doll kept moving its mouth and sucking in more of her hair. I watched in horror as all her hair got yanked off her head. I didn't know that Grandma wore a wig. I don't think I even knew what a wig was back then. To me, it looked like she'd been scalped. I freaked out and hid in the closet, and ever since that moment, I've been terrified of dolls. Tom knew that story. I brought it up a lot, but of course he forgot. So when he decided to surprise me by filling our bedroom with hundreds of knockoff Labubu dolls, with their ugly little eyes staring at me, he thought he was doing something nice. Well, my childhood fear rushed back. The dolls looked like they were moving, even though I knew they weren't. I crumpled to my knees and gasped for air, completely overcome with pure terror. Tom heard my scream and rushed up the stairs toward me. I didn't see him coming, and in my panicked brain, I thought that there were more Labubus coming to get me. I slammed my arms towards him, trying to protect myself from the doll attack. He toppled down the stairs and landed with a crack. I didn't realize what had happened until I saw him lying at the base of the stairs, his ankle twisted to the side. He broke his leg and got a concussion, but he was fine. I went with him to the hospital, but when he regained consciousness, I told him that I never wanted to see him again. I left him there to recover alone, packed up all his stuff, and dropped it off at his brother's house. And I made his brother go into my bedroom and remove all the Labubus before I saw them again. I'm single now, and I like it that way. I could do so much better than Tom. I deserve someone who actually listens to me.
I remember the first time I stumbled onto his stream like it was yesterday. It was back in 2022. I was scrolling through Twitch, bored out of my mind, and there he was. Alex, this British guy with a sharp wit and a laugh that could cut through the static. He was playing some indie horror game, jumping at every shadow, and his chat was alive with memes and inside jokes. I lurked for a while, and then tossed in a comment about how he screamed like a cartoon character. He read it out loud, chuckled, and that was it. I was hooked. Over the next few months, I became a regular. I'd chat during breaks, share dumb stories from my shifts, and he started noticing me. "Hey, Emma's in the house," he'd say, and it felt good, you know? Like being part of something. Eventually, he made me a mod, trusted me to keep the trolls at bay. It was flattering. We started DMing on Discord about stream ideas, life stuff. He was funny, charming in that dry UK way, always complaining about the rain in London or his crap job at a tech support call center. By early 2025, things had shifted. We'd moved to Skype for voice calls. Late nights for me, mornings for him. It was easy conversation. Movies, music, venting about relationships. I mentioned my boyfriend, Daniel, a lot. We'd been together for 2 years, living in a tiny apartment near campus. Daniel was solid, worked construction, made me laugh, supported my crazy schedule. But Alex, he started getting personal, complimenting my voice, asking about my day in a way that felt intense. One night in March, I was studying for midterms, sipping coffee at 2 a.m. when he called. "Emma," he said, his voice low and serious. "I need to tell you something. I've fallen for you. Hard. You're the only one who gets me." I froze, staring at my screen. "Alex, that's sweet, but I have a boyfriend. You know that. Daniel and I are serious." He leaned back, running a hand through his hair. "I know, but hear me out. We've talked for 3 years. You're my best friend. More than that. I want to come see you. Meet in person. Prove it's real." My heart pounded. Not in a good way. "No, Alex, that's not happening. I'm flattered, but I have zero interest. You're wasting your time." He smiled, like I was joking. "Come on, Emma. Give it a chance. I'll fly over. Stay in a hotel. No pressure." I laughed it off at first, but he kept pushing. Every call, every message. "My parents think it's romantic. They've given their blessing." It was weird hearing about his folks, like this was some fairy tale. I told him straight up, "Don't come. I have finals, work, Daniel, no time." "It's fine," he replied. "I'll wait. I just need to see you." I blocked him on Discord to make a point, but he found me on Skype again. "Tickets are booked," he messaged one day. "Arriving in Seattle next month." Panic set in. What the hell? I told Daniel everything, showed him the logs. He was pissed, wanted to report it, but Alex hadn't technically threatened anything. "Just ignore him," Daniel said, pulling me close. "If he shows up, we'll deal." April rolled in with cherry blossoms and rain, and sure enough, Alex landed. texted from the airport. "Here, can't wait to see you." I stared at my phone, debating. Part of me felt guilty. He'd flown across the ocean because of some online crush. But mostly I was annoyed. Entitled much? I had no intention of meeting alone. Finals were brutal. Marketing stats and group projects eating my soul. Work at the fast food joint was non-stop, tourists flooding in for spring. And Daniel? We squeezed in dates when we could, grabbing burgers or hiking in the Cascades. Life was full. Alex was an intrusion. He checked into a budget hotel downtown, messaging daily, "When can we hang? Miss your voice." I caved after a week, but on my terms. Fine, but with friends, group thing. We met at a bar near Pike Place. Me, Daniel, my roommate Sarah, and her boyfriend. Alex showed up in rumpled clothes, looking jet-lagged but excited. "Emma!" He hugged me awkwardly. The night was okay, at first. Beers flowed, stories about his streams. "Remember that time I rage quit Elden Ring?" he said, laughing. Sarah chimed in, "Dude, your screams are legendary." Daniel was polite, but I could see him sizing Alex up. As the evening wore on, Alex cornered me at the bar. "This is great, but can we talk alone? Maybe back at my hotel?" I shook my head. "No, Alex, that's not why you're here." His face darkened. "Why not? I came all this way." "Because I have a boyfriend, and I told you not to come." He sighed. "Just for a bit. Watch a movie or something." Daniel overheard, stepped in. "She said no, man. Respect it." Alex backed off. We left soon after. A few days later, he begged again. "One more hangout? Please." I agreed, stupidly, but brought Daniel. We grabbed coffee at a park, neutral ground. Alex was tense from the start. "I thought it'd be just us," he muttered. "Alex, I was clear," I said. "This is it." He exploded then, right there on the bench. "Clear? You led me on for years! Flirting in chat, modding my stream, Skyping till dawn, and now I fly over, spend 3 weeks in this shithole hotel, waiting like a dog, and you bring him?" He jabbed a finger toward Daniel. Daniel stood up. "Watch it." Alex ignored him, eyes on me. "I want time alone, in my room. You owe me that." "Owe you? For what? Invading my life?" "For everything. I love you, Emma. I'd do anything. Even dispose of him. Kill him if I have to. Make you see we're meant to be." My blood ran cold. Daniel grabbed my arm. "We're leaving. Now." We walked away, hearts racing. I called the police from the car, reported the threat. They said without proof it was hard, but advised a restraining order if he persisted. Alex messaged that night. "You after all I did." Then nothing. Blocked on everything. He flew back to the UK 2 days later. I know because a mutual from his stream told me. That experience, it taught me strength. Us women in the States, we juggle so much. Careers, relationships, creeps. But we rise. I did. And if you're watching this, know that you're not alone. Say no loud. Stand firm. The world's full of Alexes, but it's ours to navigate.
My twin brother Sam was a terrible person. When we were kids, he seemed like my best friend. Our twin bond was strong. I was too young to realize how manipulative and cruel he was. The way he'd break things and blame me for them, steal my toys and then refuse to give them back, stuff like that. It wasn't until we were teenagers that I finally realized how toxic he was. I had just gotten suspended from school for a prank he did, and rather than tell the truth, he laughed in my face. I stopped talking to him after that, and when we graduated and went to different colleges, I decided to cut him out of my life completely. It was a tough decision. Even though I couldn't stand him, we still had a twin connection that would never go away. We weren't identical, thank God, but we still shared all the same genes. I'm 23 now. Last year, when I had just graduated college and moved back to my hometown, I decided to contact Sam and see if he had changed. We met up for dinner, and he seemed like a completely different person. He was kind to our waitress. He asked me real questions about my life and actually listened to my answers. He acted a lot humbler than I remembered. During the conversation, he told me about this girl he was seeing. Her name was Joy, and she seemed like a great influence on him. I was really happy for them both. I suggested we go out on a double date sometime soon, once I got up the nerve to ask out my very hot neighbor. I know it sounds minor, but that conversation really meant a lot to me. I was bonding with my twin again. We were talking about our lives and setting up plans for the future. No manipulation, just two brothers supporting each other. So the next day, I got up the nerve to go next door and introduce myself to my neighbor. I was shocked when I found out her name was Joy too. What a coincidence. She wasn't dating anyone, so I knew she wasn't the same person. We really hit it off and agreed to meet up for drinks that night. If everything went well, Sam and I would have our double date pretty soon. Joy and I had a great time and decided to see each other again. One thing led to another, and by the next week, we were officially dating. I could already tell she was different from my past girlfriends. She was the one. On the weekend, Sam came over to my place to hang out and have dinner. Everything was perfect. I casually mentioned that I was ready for a double date if he was. I wanted to introduce him to my Joy. He seemed surprised that we were both dating someone with the same name. "Can I see your picture?" I pulled up a photo of me and Joy on the beach. I didn't want him to scroll through my gallery though, because I had some racy pictures in there. He looked at the picture and smiled. "She's absolutely beautiful, just as pretty as my girlfriend." I was surprised and genuinely impressed that my brother wasn't being competitive with me. The old Sam would have said that his girlfriend was 1,000 times hotter than mine. I asked if he could show me a picture too, but he said he didn't have any good ones on his phone. Then he changed the subject. For the next few hours, we hung out like best friends. It was wonderful. Eventually, I went to the bathroom while he stayed on the couch watching a movie. I was only gone for 3 minutes. When I came back, he acted a little colder. He said he just got a text from someone and had to run off. He hugged me goodbye and left. It was a pretty abrupt end to our evening, but I didn't think much of it. The next morning, I woke up to angry pounding on my front door. Joy was on my porch, and she looked furious. I let her in and asked what was wrong.
"How could you? I thought I could trust you."
I tried to hug her, but she pushed me away. She pounded against my chest, crying and screaming that she was going to sue me for everything I had. She left before I could even find out what was going on. I went on my phone and saw dozens of messages from Joy and her family accusing me of ruining her life and demanding I take down her photos. Thankfully, one of them sent a link. I clicked on it and saw an image of Joy in my bedroom. That's when I knew. Last night, in the time it took me to go to the bathroom, Sam had gotten into my phone, found private pictures of my girlfriend, and posted them online. Of course she thought I'd done it. I called Sam right away. "Hey bro, having problems with your girlfriend?" His voice made my skin crawl. He sounded so devious, so proud of himself. I wanted to scream, but the only thing I managed to say was a single word. "Why?" "Whatever are you talking about, bro? You sound upset." "Take down the photo, Sam!" He hung up without saying anything. I spent the next few minutes overcome with anger, throwing things and screaming out all my frustrations. What was I going to do? How could I fix things with Joy? I took a shower to calm down, and when I checked my phone again, the photos were gone. Now that I felt a bit more clarity, I walked to Joy's house to explain everything. She didn't want to answer the door at first. I calmly told her that my brother had stolen her photos. She then let me inside. I explained the situation, telling her some of the cruel things Sam had done to me in the past so she could see what kind of person he was. Then I showed her a picture of him. Her face went blank. Oh God, that's the creep who won't leave me alone. We went on one date 2 months ago and it was awful. So my girlfriend and Sam's girlfriend were the same person. I don't know if Sam genuinely thought they were dating or if he just lied to me and inflated their relationship to feel better about himself. Either way, he was crazy. But at least Joy believed me. She wasn't mad at me anymore, but she was absolutely furious at Sam. What are we gonna do to him? I never thought of that before, giving my brother a taste of his own medicine. I didn't think like him. I wasn't a vengeful person, but right now I had to be. Joy asked me if I had any incriminating photos of Sam we could post, but I didn't, and even if I did, that didn't seem like it would be strong enough. We needed to do something that would stop him from messing with me ever again. Then I thought of something. Without telling Joy what I was doing, I dialed Sam's number. Yeah? What do you want? I pretended to sound frantic and in pain.
Please, Sam, you have to tell her the truth. She's gone crazy. She stabbed me. You have to tell her I didn't post those photos. Oh God, she has a gun!
Joy knew exactly what I was doing. She grabbed a thick book off the table and dropped it on the floor. Sam, I'll never forgive you.
No, please don't be dead!
I guess he wasn't a complete psychopath. He sounded horrified. Then Joy took the phone and deepened her voice. I'm coming after you next. I know where you live. She hung up on him. I guess Sam called the police right afterward. He said that Joy murdered me, and the cops arrived to check on us. He was there with them. Hi, Sam. Why do you look so surprised? They arrested him for harassment, as well as sharing explicit material and filing a false police report. Legally, he got off easy, but since Joy filmed his absolute freakout during the arrest, everyone could finally see what a sad, crazy man he really was. I haven't seen him since. I had just turned 25 and my life was not going according to plan. I was drowning in student loans and barely scraping by. Despite getting a degree from UCLA, I worked at a gas station. The only good thing in my life was Lawrence, my fiancé. He was a wonderful man, and I loved him very much. We were planning to get married in August. It was going to be a very small affair, just his family and a few of our friends. I grew up in a foster home, so I didn't have any family of my own. A couple months before the wedding, I was at the mall when I heard a familiar voice shout my name.
Mia? Oh my God!
I spun around to see my two friends from college. We were all in the same sorority, so we used to be really close. I hadn't talked to any of them since graduation, but I knew they all moved on to high-paying jobs and rich husbands. I didn't want them to know that I was just a cashier at a gas station. We sat together at the food court so we could catch up. They all ordered food, but I didn't get anything. I said I wasn't hungry, but the truth was, I couldn't afford it. They all told me how successful and happy they were, which made me feel even worse about myself. When it was my turn to tell them how my life was going, I lied to their faces. I said that I worked for a major publicity company, working with famous clients and brands. It was the job I'd always wanted, so the lies came easily out of my mouth. They all seemed really impressed. Then I told them about my upcoming wedding. I made it seem like it was going to be a grand affair, with a bunch of famous people on the guest list. I apologized for not inviting them, knowing that none of them lived in the area. I couldn't believe I was saying all this, but it felt nice to see the shocked looks on their faces. They congratulated me and promised that they'd stay in touch. I knew I wouldn't hear from them again. For a few weeks afterward, I sort of forgot about this whole conversation. I was busy with work, taking extra shifts to save up for our tiny wedding. Then one day, I came home to find Lawrence planning out the seating chart for our wedding dinner. I was shocked to see all my college friends' names on his list. I wanted to surprise you. I saved up a little extra money, so I was able to invite more of your friends. I instantly told him he couldn't invite them, but he said it was too late. He'd already sent out the invitations. Everyone had already RSVP'd. I didn't know what to do. If my old friend showed up, they'd see what a liar I was. Lawrence asked me what was wrong. I guess he could see the panic on my face. I couldn't tell him the truth, because then he'd know how embarrassed I was at our humble life together. I had to figure out a way to prevent them from coming. That night, I did something I never thought I'd do. I stole from the gas station. It was easy enough. I knew where the owner kept the combination to the safe, and I knew that the security cameras didn't work. I wore rubber gloves so that I wouldn't leave fingerprints and emptied out the entire thing. Thousands of dollars. With that money, I changed the venue to a private garden with a string quartet. I ordered custom floral arrangements, changed the cake, and got all sorts of decorations that looked fancier than they actually were. I also hired a handful of celebrity impersonators to pad out the guest list. When I told Lawrence about the changes, I made up a story about an inheritance from my dead aunt that I just found out about. He believed me, of course. I never lied to him before. On the day of the wedding, everyone was stunned. The celebrity impersonators did a great job. They were very believable, though I told Lawrence beforehand that they were just lookalikes I'd hired to make the day more special. My college friends had no idea. I was so happy that my plan was working. I had the wedding of my dream, and my old friends genuinely believed I was some highly successful businesswoman. Everything was perfect. As Lawrence's sister was helping me into my dress, there was a knock on the door. Lawrence walked in, keeping his eyes covered so he didn't see me in my wedding dress. "Mia, I need to ask you something." He said that my boss at the gas station had just discovered the missing money. I played dumb, telling him I had no idea what he was talking about. I knew this was bound to happen, so I'd already practiced exactly what to say. There's no way I'd get caught. "You're sure you had nothing to do with it? All the money for this wedding is from your aunt, right? Every cent." He seemed to believe me. He wished me luck and hurried out of the changing room. Yeah, I felt a little guilty for what I did, but it was all worth it. 20 minutes later, I was walking down the aisle. I looked amazing. Everyone was shocked at my gorgeous, expensive dress. A couple of the celebrity impersonators gasped as I walked past. They were really good actors. I made it to the altar and stood in front of Lawrence. He looked dashing. A simple wedding would have been great, but this was so much better. The priest said a few words and asked for our vows. I was crying as I said mine, vowing to always love him no matter what. Then it was his turn to say his vows, and his expression went blank. "Mia, I thought I knew you, but I can't marry a thief who would lie to my face. I'm sorry." He kissed me on the forehead and then ran off. Everyone in attendance went silent. Then the actor pretending to be Seth Rogen stood up. Does this mean we're not going to get paid?" I couldn't stand all the stares. My college friends looked at me with such horror and pity. It was the worst feeling of my life. I raced out there and found Lawrence in the parking lot, getting into his car.
Lawrence, wait!
"I know you stole that money. I was just going to ignore it, but when you said those vows, I couldn't. Goodbye, Mia. I hope you have a good life." I watched him drive off. He never exposed me. I never got arrested, and the gas station's insurance paid for all the stolen money. My friends still don't know what happened. At least I don't think so. They left before I could talk to them. What should have been the best day of my life became a complete train wreck. Lawrence is gone. I have nothing. I still work at the gas station, and my boss still trusts me. But I lost the one good thing in my life. I don't know what to do.
My name is Pearl, and I'm extremely good looking, and my husband loves me because of that. I love living in the desert, even though we barely got any rain outside of monsoon season in August. The vast majority of our rain came during that 1 month, and we had to make sure that our sprawling acreage didn't flood. Last August, Jim went out to check if our trench had been blocked. It seemed like there was more water in the yard than usual. He said he was going out to take a look, that it would be 10 minutes, tops. But he never came back. I waited for about 20 minutes before I went outside to check on him. It was pouring rain, and I had to trudge through water up to my ankles. I looked around our backyard and didn't see him. I went all the way to the trench that ran across the back of our property. It funneled the excess water into a little reservoir, and the water was running pretty fast. He wasn't there. I went back inside and called the police. I can't tell you how panicked I was. Because of the rain, the police couldn't get there until about half an hour after I called. They had 3 men walk around the property looking for Jim. They didn't see any signs that he was even ever there. They walked to the back of the house, dripping wet, and gave me the bad news. Jim was still missing. He gave me a number to call and then left. I guess I was in shock because I let them leave without arguing. I stayed inside, silently praying that I would see Jim again. Eventually, day turned into night, and the rain got even worse. I was sitting on the couch, crying and praying. I felt completely hopeless. Then, I heard a soft knock at the back door. It was barely audible over the rain, and I didn't know if it was just a fallen tree branch or something, but I couldn't ignore it. I pulled on my shoes and walked to the back door. I looked around, but I didn't see Jim. I started to think that the noise was just in my head, and then I noticed a figure in the distance. It looked like Jim was standing at the far corner of our property, just past the trench. "Jim?" I shouted into the wind. The figure didn't move. There was a flash of lightning, and I got a better look at the figure. Yes, it was definitely Jim. But what was he doing? I raced across the yard, wading through knee-deep water until I made it to the trench. Jim was standing on the other side with the rushing water between us. "Honey," he said, "I'm trapped. Please help me." He didn't seem trapped. He could walk along the edge of the trench and enter our property from the side, but he wasn't moving. Instead, he reached his hand toward me, as if he wanted me to help him jump across the rushing water. "It's not safe," I told him. "You have to go around." "Please," he said. "I need your help." His arm was still extended. Despite how dangerous the trench was, it was only about 3 feet wide. With my help, he could jump over. So even though I knew it was safer to go across, I did what he wanted. I reached forward and grabbed his arm. "Okay," I said. "You can jump." He didn't. Instead, he squeezed my wrist really tight and pulled. It happened so fast, I didn't know what was going on. It was only after I fell into the rushing water that I realized that he wanted me to fall. I felt my body slam against the side of the trench as I was caught up in the water. Everything was dark. Intense pain seared through me as a fallen branch scratched against my sides. My head collided with the concrete. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't underwater. If I opened my mouth, I would choke. Not knowing what to do, I just let the current take me. My body was pushed further and further down the stream until I was shot into the churning reservoir. I desperately paddled to the surface, gasping for air before the water pulled me back down. I was so close to drowning, but I grabbed onto a tree trunk at the edge of the water to steady myself. With all my strength, I pulled myself out of the muddy reservoir. I was bleeding, bruised, and covered in mud. I couldn't see out of one of my eyes, and I didn't know if it was covered in mud or if it had been swollen shut. Slowly, I limped back towards the house. When I got to the front of our property, I saw the same police car parked outside. The 3 cops that had helped me earlier were sitting on the porch with Jim. He was wrapped in a blanket, talking to them. No one noticed me. "I guess she thought I had fallen into the trench," I heard him tell the police. "She was out there looking for me, but when I went to go get her, she fell in and drowned." He kept talking, but I couldn't make out his words because he was crying so hard. One of the cops patted him on the shoulder. "It's okay," he said. "I'm sure we'll find her body." I couldn't believe it. Jim was never missing. He had this all set up so he could drown me and pretend it was an accident. He used the monsoon as both his alibi and his murder weapon. I don't know what I'm gonna do without her, he wailed. Now all 3 cops were trying to comfort him. I felt sick to my stomach. I couldn't watch this anymore. I thought Jim and I loved each other. I guess I was wrong. I stepped forward and loudly cleared my throat. All 3 cops looked at me in shock. Slowly, Jim turned his head around and saw me standing there, wounded, but very much alive. Well, shit, he said. Needless to say, Jim and I aren't married anymore. He's awaiting trial for attempted murder. And after that storm, it hasn't rained since.